This is Celebrity Thursdays. Every Thursday we present you with another celebrity. Today we're looking at 15 things you didn't know about Stephen Hawking. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello Aluxers, and welcome to another one of our fascinating videos about people who have changed the way we see the world today. Stephen William Hawking was born in Oxford, England on January 8, 1942. Diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS, in 1963, Stephen Hawking's body became paralyzed over the remainder of his remarkable life. He continued his work as a physicist despite the disease that ravaged his body. Hawking's theories on black holes and his quest to outline an understanding of quantum gravity and quantum mechanics have left a legacy that will far outlive the man behind them. Hawking unfortunately lost his battle with ALS and passed away March 14, 2018. He inspired a generation of scientists who are pushing the boundaries of our understanding of the universe. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. So Aluxers, let's take an ultimate quantum leap and examine the life and times of this impressive physicist with the 15 things you didn't know about Stephen Hawking. Number 1. Stephen Hawking had some academic struggles at school. Although he came from a family that placed great emphasis on intellectual pursuits, Stephen Hawking did not learn to read while attending Byron House School during his early schooling career. When Hawking started school at St. Albans at the age of 8, he overcame this obstacle, and from there, the sky was the limit. He developed lasting friendships at St. Albans and had a close group of friends who shared his passion for understanding the world around them. At school, Hawking was nicknamed Einstein, although his aptitude for mathematics and science only became evident much later in his schooling career. Number 2. Stephen Hawking's theories opened the door for a new perception of the world we live in. Hawking studied at University College, Oxford, but pursued his postgraduate master's degree and PhD at the University of Cambridge. He began to study the existing theories about the singularity that exists in the center of a black hole. This Hawking applied to the entire universe. He wrote his thesis on the subject and obtained a PhD in applied mathematics and theoretical physics. After his graduation, Hawking pursued research on the concept of singularity and later turned his attention to quantum gravity and quantum mechanics. During this time, Hawking and his colleagues published several papers and books that revolutionized people's understanding of the universe. Number 3. ALS nearly derailed the life of one of the greatest minds of our time. After receiving his ALS diagnosis back in 1963, Stephen Hawking experienced an emotional crisis and sank into a deep depression. Doctors had warned that his health would decline rapidly and he should expect to live no longer than a few more years. Hawking questioned the point of continuing with his studies. Most people who are diagnosed with ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, have a short life expectancy. Hawking's mentor persuaded him to carry on with his academic studies, and luckily, Hawking took that advice. Number 4. Stephen Hawking came to the public's attention with the publication of his book. Until 1984, relatively few people outside of the world of academia had any sort of idea who Stephen Hawking was. He had made significant advances in his field of study and published a number of papers to much critical acclaim. However, his academic work was not bringing in the income he needed to ensure his children got a top-notch education. Hawking signed a publishing deal with Bantam Books and wrote what is possibly his best-known work, A Brief History of Time. The book brought Hawking's theories to the people, explaining them less scientifically and more practically. Number 5. Hawking's earnings surpassed his expectations. Stephen Hawking became a best-selling author, and this earned him a lot of money and media attention. Hawking was now not only the darling of the academic world, he also reached out and touched the imaginations of the public. A multitude of speaking engagements and appearances followed. His celebrity status took up much of his time, leaving little left for research and academic work. His book was made into a film in 1992, produced by Steven Spielberg. These factors are what led Stephen Hawking to amassing a respectable net worth of $20 million by the time of his passing. Number 6. Hawking's health continued to deteriorate. After his diagnosis with ALS, it wasn't long before Stephen Hawking was in a wheelchair and his muscles were weakening. And as the disease compromised his muscles, Hawking was losing the ability to speak. After a bout of pneumonia in 1985, Hawking underwent a tracheotomy, which meant he would never speak normally again. After using a speech card, Hawking went on to use the Equalizer, a program that allowed him to select phrases, words, and letters to communicate. Hawking did have enough use of his hand to select what he wanted to say and to drive his own wheelchair. He became well known on campus as having a need for speed. Hawking fought to retain his independence and refused to let his condition rein him in. Number 7. Hawking led an interesting and often controversial private life. Jane Wilde was a friend of Stephen Hawking's sister. His relationship with Jane and their subsequent engagement were what Hawking cited as his reason to keep studying and living life. They married in October 1964. The couple had 3 children, sons Robert and Timothy, and daughter Lucy. As Hawking's health deteriorated, the couple's marriage became strained. After his tracheotomy, Hawking needed constant care. He fell in love with one of his carers, Elaine Mason. He left Jane to marry her. His family and colleagues were not comfortable with his relationship with Elaine. After allegations that she abused him in the early 2000s surfaced, a police investigation was undertaken. It went nowhere as Hawking refused to make a statement. He and Mason divorced in 2006. Number 8. Hawking's first wife was appalled by the film made based on her book about the marriage. Jane Hawking published 2 books about her life with a brilliant physicist. The first described the breakup of her marriage. Music to Move the Stars opened the door to a marriage that had ended acrimoniously. After his divorce from his second wife, Elaine Mason, Jane Hawking published another book, Traveling to Infinity: My Life with Stephen. This book was made into a movie in 2014. The Theory of Everything starred award-winning actor Eddie Redmayne as Stephen Hawking. Jane Hawking was less than satisfied with the final product, labeling it a work of fiction and far from the reality that she had described in her book. She felt let down by the producers who had promised to stay true to her book. Number 9. Stephen Hawking appeared on television shows and wrote children's books. Hawking appeared on a 1993 episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation as a hologram at the behest of Leonard Nimoy, who played the show's iconic character, Spock. His synthesized voice appeared in a 1993 episode of The Simpsons as well. He appeared on the smash hit comedy show The Big Bang Theory as the hero of lead character Dr. Sheldon Cooper. Hawking and his daughter Lucy also wrote a children's fiction book, bringing his ideas to the next generation. Many children have been inspired to consider a career in theoretical physics because of these books. Stephen Hawking became a household name. No one could have imagined that the theoretical physicist, who had so many physical challenges, would gain fame and fortune. Yet that's exactly what Stephen Hawking did. His ability to reach non-academics to explain his theories to them made him accessible to people. They felt he was talking to them, not over their heads. Hawking's relentless schedule to promote his publications allowed many people to meet his iconic genius. While he accumulated a reasonable fortune, Hawking's fame and inspiration cannot have a monetary value attached to it. He became known as this century's Einstein, which is definitely a great honor. And Aluxers, wouldn't you know it, but we covered this famous physicist in our 10 Things You Didn't Know About Albert Einstein video, which you can check out by clicking in the top right corner. Number 11. Stephen Hawking's death in 2018 was mourned by many. Hawking passed away at home in Cambridge on March 14, 2018. He had finally succumbed to the ALS, having lived with it for an amazing 55 years. Even in death, Hawking would pay tribute to scientists who had preceded him. He was born on the 300th anniversary of the death of astrologer Galileo Galilei. He died on what would have been Einstein's 139th birthday. After a private funeral service, Hawking was cremated. His ashes were then scattered near the graves of physicist Sir Isaac Newton and naturalist Charles Darwin. Number 12. Hawking memorabilia was auctioned after his death. After his passing, some of Hawking's possessions were auctioned off to raise funds for his family and some of his favorite charities. The auction at Christie's raised $1.8 million. Items sold included a signed copy of his doctoral thesis. The wheelchair Hawking used in the 1980s and 90s was sold, as well as an early edition of A Brief History of Time. A script for the television show of The Simpsons, featuring Hawking's lines, was also put under the hammer. Several medals and awards were also featured among the 22 items that were auctioned. The money from the auction went to the family, except the proceeds from the sale of the wheelchair. That sales proceeds would be donated to the Motor Neuron Disease Foundation, as well as Hawking's own foundation. Number 13. Stephen Hawking's beliefs and opinions were valued to many. Hawking believed the only greater power was the laws of science that rule the universe and its existence. He was a well-known atheist. Hawking aimed to make the most of the time he had on Earth and didn't believe in heaven or the afterlife. Hawking worried about the future of the planet, including global warming and nuclear war. While he was excited by the developments in the use of artificial intelligence, he feared its creators would ignore the risk, making it the last great development made by man. He believed in the existence of aliens, but worried that contact with them would have negative consequences. His genius made him a credible source, and his opinions had many people questioning their current beliefs. Number 14. Stephen Hawking was determined to travel to space. Hawking dreamed of traveling to space one day. He was offered a free ticket to space on Virgin Galactic's craft by Virgin boss Richard Branson. His reasons for accepting were twofold. He wanted to bring about some awareness about space travel to safeguard the future of the human race. While at the same time, as an advocate for people with disabilities, he wanted to prove that nothing should prevent a person from achieving their dreams. In 2007, Hawking experienced the sensation of weightlessness near the shores of Florida. He is said to have really enjoyed the experience, leaving his wheelchair behind and fitting in a few flips. Number 15. Stephen Hawking showed us all that boundaries exist only in our imaginations. Stephen Hawking did not believe in boundaries. In his personal life, he did not allow his condition to limit him or prevent him from accomplishing his goals. In his professional life, Hawking was a key player in the boundless universe theory. This is a theory that shows that the universe has no boundaries. He used the principles of general relativity and quantum mechanics to prove his theory in conjunction with his colleague James Hartle. Not only did Hawking apply his brilliant mind to his chosen field of study, he brought his startling theories to the world. Well, Aluxers, that's all on Stephen Hawking for today. But before you go, we're curious. What do you think Stephen Hawking's legacy is? Let us know in the comments. And of course, for sticking with us and watching all the way to the end, we have a special bonus fact just for you. Number 16. Stephen Hawking was a member of the Oxford rowing team. Hawkins struggled to fit in when he started his university studies at Oxford. He was not happy and felt very isolated. He decided to join the rowing team to meet fellow students and engage with them on a social level. Hawkins lacked the size and muscle strength to be a rower, though. However, his smaller frame was perfect for coxswain. He coxed the rowing team, which entailed controlling the steering of the rowboat and the pace at which the team members rowed. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos, which we recommend you watch next. Thank you for being an Aluxer, and we'll see you back tomorrow.